Hey,
Hey, Luke, I feel like I walked right near where are you guys?
Windsor Terrace.
Yeah, I was over on like 15th, right at the circle today.
And you walked by me?
No, I just had this vague feeling that you were nearby. I was like, I
Yes,
think
you
this is
felt
right.
me.
I felt you. I like the aura.
Cool.
I like to think of your trajectory being from jump cut to stardom, but do you what would you say about your trajectory?
Um, well, I don't know. I don't have, has there been one? I haven't noticed. I mean, I find it surprising that you're saying that you had seen Slings and Arrows prior to my coming in to do Jump Cut because I was such a vagrant and living kind of a vagrant's life that it certainly didn't feel like I
But
mean, I really,
Slings and Arrows was like the year or two before, right?
oh
Or
no,
three years?
you're right.
Yeah.
I just don't, it, that show has such legs within our kind of theater community in a way that I like, and when we did Jump Cut, it was sort of prior to the new zeitgeist, the hashtag zeitgeist age. So like, I wouldn't have really known that it was catching in the way that I do now. Um,
Right.
I felt so welcomed when I walked into that space.
That
I really kind of,
terrible, crazy old space.
yeah, yeah. And I love that space, but I felt really, oh, it was a very warm feeling for me at the time. It felt special. So thank you for that. I mean, it was really just being in that space with you guys and playing out that dynamic. It was kind of, it was such a great, Nina's script was really great. And it was a great character, and the dynamic of the relationships were really good, and it just was fun. I do remember not I cannot listen to Steely Dan the same, like not the same. There was never a time where I was like, oh, I can really listen to Steely Dan and feel cozy. That didn't exist, but it really exacerbated something that I probably already felt about Steely Dan, which was that it's a peculiar kind of music. That was the biggest challenge, was trying to get inspired around Steely Dan and compare him, like relate them to, or the trajectory of Steely Dan building up to Snoop Dogg. I remember that being in the story.
How do you think your character would have handled quarantine?
Well, I like to think very well, but, unfortunately, it's like up until a certain point, because of, what we know about, the, about bipolar disorders, that, there's these kind of, these inevitable bursts of thought and mood that are precarious.
Yeah.
Sorry, let's go. That's another downer. It's like thinking about how people are gonna live through that experience. But he would have enjoyed the pot until the pot ran out. I think he would have been fine.
That's what I was going to say. As long as he
Yeah.
could keep getting high, it would all
Right.
be okay. Which,
Yeah.
frankly, I don't disagree with.
Yeah. No, I'm the same.
Um, so, Luke, the first internship I ever did in New York was at the Women's Project when I was in between my junior and senior year of college. So it was the summer of 95. I did an internship at the Women's Project. And then, so like coming back and directing Jump Cut there, which was a play that I loved so much, it was such a big deal for me. And I felt so, like I was so excited about it, and I love the play so much, and I love Neena's work so much. Do you remember what you liked about that play, or like what was it about Neena's voice, or why you felt like you wanted to spend time in her world?
I actually don't know that I felt especially drawn to it. In some ways, there was like a repulsion, but that for me usually is like a sign of maybe I should go through that door. I found like you know, I was sort of frightened by it, and it was, you know, like you know, it was partly where I was at the time, a kind of lonely, living a relatively lonely life, and it, you know, and a lot of it spent in my head. I think that I found myself relating to Dave in a way that was illuminating, but kind of shining a light on aspects of, you know, my own personality in life that probably could have used a bit of coaxing, or, you know, a good hug or whatever. So so yeah, I don't think it was that I was drawn to it. It was that I was sort of just bewildered by, and felt a kind of a sort of a curiosity through revulsion, if that is fair. I mean, it was there. I will say this: Neena's an exceptional writer, so the writing was really good, and the dynamics felt true, and the relationship felt true, and it didn't feel like it was. It felt like it was looking at something that could easily be used in cliche, or have simple answers, and it didn't do any of that. It had love coursing through it, but it didn't sort of fall into any sort of you know, kind of sentimental arithmetic where things are just sort of, you know, neatly tied up at the end.
Yeah, I always found it like, when I think about it, I think about those monologues that you had and the kind of dexterity that was required for you. And I just always was like marveled at how you could think as fast as Dave.
Yeah. Well, there's something a bit that was really nice, because it provided for me, you know, I have this kind of engine that I don't get to access that often because of my kind of laconic way that I usually, you know, I sort of usually abide by the sort of more sort of dopey energy, just because life is easier that way. But I do have this engine that exists, and so it was really fun to get into that.
I'm ready for a revival. I love that play so much.
Yeah.
It's so
All right.
good.
They got 3 people in it.
That's it.
Who am I going to play?
You're going to play all 3. We're going to do it as a one-person show.
Yeah.
Maybe I can play Steely Dan. I know that Steely Dan's not a person.
Maybe this version.
It provided me a voice in a way, you know, for things that I was thinking or feeling, or, you know, because none of what, in spite of what he is experiencing and the kind of destructive bent of it, he's not wrong in those heightened moments. You know, that sort of seeing the kind of cosmic connective tissue, you know, isn't wrong. If you're not in, you know, so long as he's not endangering himself or other people, it's not wrong to see, you know, how things connect.
I'm ready for a revival. I love that play so much.
Yeah.
It's so
all right.
good.
They got 3 people in it.
That's it.
Who am I going to play?
You're going to play all 3. We're going to do it as a one-person show.
Yeah.
Maybe I can play Steely Dan. I know that Steely Dan's not a person.
Maybe this version.
Okay,
No,
now I'm gonna, yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, please.
No, it's okay.
No, say it.
No, it'll come back around.
I hope it was going to be like a recitation of a Steely Dan lyrics from some song of theirs that you can't get out of your head, even though you.
Way, I would do another lifetime. Actually, you know what? I retract what I just said about it. There's nothing wrong with seeing all that connective tissue. He's wrong. Steely Dan is not connected to Schopenhauer. No way.
I actually kind of like Steely Dan, you guys.
That's okay. It's okay. Everybody likes it's okay to like Steely Dan. I just don't. There's a kind of, and it's probably the play because of how it ends and hearing that song.
Yeah.
Any World. Well, you know, that was depressing. There's a kind of chilly aspect to Steely Dan. I never understand when people say like, oh yeah, it's kind of like math. But I've heard people refer to Steely Dan as kind of like mathy. Whatever.
I just pulled up the lyrics for that song because I'm just curious if there's anything resonant with Steely Dan for today.
Oh yeah.
I just want to say if I had my way, I would move to another lifetime. I'd quit my job, ride the train through the misty nighttime. I'll be ready when my feet touch ground, whenever I come down, and if the folks will have me, then they'll have me. Any world that I'm welcome to is better than the one I come from.
Oh, God, that's so depressing.
Luke, you're so amazing for doing this. I've just been like, the thought of for what you like, because of what you just said, like the thought of these theaters not being here on the other side of this, and not like, I think about at other times in my career, if this had happened, you know, how I don't know that where I would go or what I would do. And, you know, so I've just been like, so my heart just goes out so much to everybody who's trying to run a organization right now. And I feel like what Lisa does at WP is so specific and so important. And it's, you know, a very difficult time. And so I just really want to thank you for agreeing to talk to us today. Cause I feel like I really want to do whatever I can in this moment. I actually don't even know how to be a civilian in this moment. It's like, it's so weird to be like, this is what I know about how to be a civilian. Like, don't leave my house and like lean out the window and clap at 7:00 and like give money on the internet to food banks. Like, I just don't know what else to do. And so, you know, it just is like the real palpable need that WP has right now is very moving to me. And so I just want to thank you so much.
I concur and thank you. You know, well, it's insanely important because of, you know, if you believe in the medium, it has a pulse that is transformative, and it provides so many people with a workplace that they can explore themselves and explore life and radiate that out to the world in a way that is transformative. It's like, I mean, it's so obvious to me as to the why, but it feels that important. I do sort of, I feel somewhat bolstered when I reflect on history, and you know, that's kind of always, it's cliche and everybody in theater says it, but it's like, there is that thing of like, you know, there's a longer story that we're part of, and we're really lucky for catching wind of it. But there is a longer story, and it does make it through these things. So you know, courage.
Well, and stories continue. You know, we have it's built into us to want to tell them, and so, you know, it's just trying to preserve the engines for those stories to be told. So
Yeah.
that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
No, and make spaces so that everybody gets to tell them. So, all
right, you guys.
Okay, guys, it's really, really nice to see you. Lots of
Really
love.
nice to see you. Thanks.
And, you know, I hope we get to, you know, I hope to see you on the other end of this.
Yes, please.
In a great way.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
All right, hang in. All right.